Welcome, Annie Collins here for White Rose Crafts. Today we're going to create this adorable card featuring Lawn Fawn products. Let's go to the products I use. The Butterfly Kisses Flip Flop Stamp Set with coordinating dies. I'm going to use all the images except for this little swirly thing right here. The Gotta Have Gingham 6x6 pad, I'll be using the blue and yellow gingham papers. And for the really rainbow 6x6 pad, I'll be using that piece of green. Bringing in some Fossilized Amber Distress Oxide ink, VersaFine Onyx Black ink, and I use Memento ink to stamp all my images. I cut my grass using the Stitch Hillside border die. I have my sun, that's where I use the Fossilized Amber just to darken the center to give it some dimension. And here are stamped and colored and die cut images. I went ahead and did that ahead of time to save us some time. I have our paper is cut about 1/8 of an inch smaller than our card base, and I have a strip of white cardstock that will be for our sentiment. And our card base is a 110-pound card base. I'm bringing the White Rose Crafts, Abracadazzers, Shaker Mix, and Spring Meadow for finishing touches. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and stamp our sentiments. I'm peeling it off the stamp backing and placing it onto my acrylic block. I'm going to put a little bit of adhesive on the back of this sentiment strip here to hold it in place while I stamp. It's just repositionable adhesive, and then I'll rub it off when I'm done. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and grab my sentiment, and my acrylic block has a lining up etched in there, so I'm going to use that to line up my sentiment, make sure it's nice and straight. And I'm going to go ahead and stamp the word smiles first, and now I can remove that and put the word sending next, as soon as I get it situated correctly. And please excuse my daughter's dog. He's visiting and he is not a happy camper, so he's giving me little barks to let me know he's still here. Okay, so there I have the sending going in. Pardon my head getting in the way. I couldn't line it up. I have to get right over it. Alright, so there's our sentiment, and I'm going to set that aside for a few seconds while we put the rest of our card together. Let me remove the adhesive that's on here. Alright, we're going to start with our grass border. We're going to adhere that to the bottom of our cardstock, to our pattern paper here. And I'm going to use some tear tape on the back of the grassy border here. I'm going to remove the backing, and then I'll adhere this to the blue gingham cardstock pattern paper panel. Okay, I'm insisting it's cardstock. It's not cardstock. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and trim off any of the excess that's left over here. Then I will be able to adhere this panel to our card base when we're ready. I'm just going to do a quick deciding where I want things to be. I think I'm going to place my sun there. So on the little fox, I went ahead and trimmed between his little arms so that I can tuck easily the little handle to his net in between. So I'm just going to put a little drop of glue on the front of one of his little front paws and on the back of the other, just so I can squeeze it in the little net. See, now it looks like he's really holding it. It looks so cute. I'm going to make some adjustments. And now I'm going to bring in my Sakura Jelly Roll pen in Sparkle just to give a little highlight to my net here. I'm just putting a little hashtag kind of, design there. So you can emphasize it's a net, but without overdoing it. And then I'm just going to put little dots on each of the butterflies' larger wing, or upper portion of their wing, I should say. Just a dot or two on there, just to bring a little sparkle to the butterflies. Alright, now that I have everything all set, I can go ahead and adhere our panel to our card base. Again, my card base is 110-pound weight, and this is an A2 card, so it's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I'm putting it, adhering it down using a little barely art glue, and I left about 1/8 of an inch all the way around, so we have that nice little white border just peeking out behind. Once I have it all done, I press it in place, and we can start by adhering our sun. On the back of the sun, I have some foam adhesive, so I'm going to remove the backing, and I'll be placing that to the top right hand corner. Just so, right there. So now I'm going to put our little flocks. I'm going to put them about there, and then I'll just move my butterflies around to how I want them. So I know I want to pop up my little fox, so I'm going to add some foam adhesive to the back of him and his little net. And I'm going to also pop up the yellow butterfly, which is the one he's trying to catch. So once I get all my foam adhesive on here, I'll remove all the backing. And then I can get it onto my card base. And I'm sorry about the little rays of sun. I had my blinds open, and at first it was fine, but hey, the sun started streaming in and it came into play, so I'm sorry about that. It's behind me, so now I'm casting a shadow onto everything. So now I have my little guy. I'm going to place him down right there, pop up my little yellow butterfly, adding just a little teeny bit of foam adhesive to the back of that butterfly, and the other butterflies I will just adhere to the card panel itself. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere this on with some Barely Art glue, and I'm just going to put them in different heights as all those little butterflies are just floating by. As for our sentiment, I'm going to go ahead and use a foam strip behind it. As soon as I get it out of my basket here. Alright, so there's my foam strip. I'm going to remove the backing and adhere that to my card sentiment, my sentiment. And then I'll place that right up here on the left hand corner opposite my sun, and I'll trim off any of the excess that's left over. Alright, so now I can adhere the rest of my butterflies. Excuse me. I'm going to adhere the little purple one up by the sentiment. And then the orange one just below the sun, or well, actually between the sun and the sentiment, just below that. Okay, so now you can call your card finished at this point, and I'm going to add some more little embellishments. So I'm going to use the Abracadabra's Spring Meadow shaker mix, and I'm just going to pull out, it has little flowers in there, so I'm going to pull out some of those, 3 of those, and I'm going to put those down by the grass, and up by the sentiment I'm going to pull out 2 of the sequins that are in there. Well, I'm going to tuck one just behind the sentiment and a tiny one at the fishtail end of the sentiment, and the other 3 little flowers I'll place on the bottom. I have a pink, a yellow, and a purple, a purpley colored flower down there. Putting small dabs of liquid adhesive here to place my sequins in place, and then I'm going to put bigger dabs of adhesive here for my sequins of the little flowers here. They're cupped flowers, so they're going to have a little dimension to them. So once I get them on here, get them to set, I see that the glue is showing through, and then I know the glue dries clear, but it still looks kind of hollow. So I'm going to bring in some Nouveau drops in Dandelion Yellow. I'm going to give it a squeeze to make sure there's no air in that. And then I'm going to just fill in the centers of my flowers. So when it dries, the flower centers will be yellow instead of that little hole that the sequins have. It just gives it a better finishing touch. Dabbing off any extra here, well, not dabbing off, patting the back so that it all flows into place. And we're basically done. So now we have used Lawn Fawn's Really Rainbow paper pad. Lawn Fawn's got a half gingham paper pad for our card, and the Butterfly Kisses flip flop stamp and coordinating dies, along with some inks, and our Abracadabra in Spring Meadow, and some Nouveau drops. As always, I'll have everything linked in the description box below. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them there for me, and I'll do my best to answer them. please like and subscribe to the White Rose channel. We would love to have you be a subscribed member. Thank you for being here, and I hope you found some inspiration.